Good evening and welcome to On Point Opinions. I'm Bobby Kinzer,
And I'm Juan Holcomb.
and we are On Point Opinions, the show to discuss all the hot and current topics around the world. We have good discussions, and just remember, it's on point and it is just our opinions. But we do deal with facts. It's our opinions on some of the facts. But we want to get some things straight. We know there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of falsehoods and false realities. So we just like to get some things straight. And me and Juan, we sometimes are opposite end of the polar. Magnetic polar. He's sometimes more conservative, and I might be sometimes more moderate. And then sometimes we might switch back and forth. But we're here today to talk about there's so much going on, Juan. But before we go any further, Juan, I just want to let people know. Please click on to the like button and the heart button. That gives us more traction and more open to more people to be on our show. That's how Facebook works. And go out on YouTube Live and subscribe. So Juan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Bob. Played a little golf today, full disclosure. So I'm always happy when I can get out on the golf course.
Yeah, I played golf today too, man. I shot in it's weird because I was trying to shoot in the 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that the only way I'm gonna be doing that if it's 70 degrees outside. But I love this game, Juan. It's almost like life.
Yeah.
Every time I think I got it, I don't. And when I think I don't, I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, Juan, let's get on to some of the topics today. What's going to be the top subject that we're going to begin with today?
Well, Bob, I'm always fascinated how that month that goes by, the magnitude of things that happen since we last were in front of our audience. And we're kicking it off today, which was perhaps hit like a bombshell, is the Trump search and seizure. And for
it's
those of
you didn't say raid.
Yes.
You chose your words wisely, huh?
Chose my words wisely, and my executive producer and sister pointed out that every article she's read, everything was a raid, and it wasn't a raid. I mean, they had a search warrant, and they called ahead, and they told them when they were coming, and his attorney was there, and they came bearing gifts. No, they didn't, but I mean, it couldn't have been more.
Juan, what do you think? So Juan, we know if it's any other person, they'd be locked up by now. So what do you think Attorney General Garland's approach is here? Why do you think they taking this moving? It seems like they're moving slow. Is it purposely, or is it why do you think they treating it this way?
Good question. And let's take the first point, Bob. Just like you said, I believe a former federal prosecutor said yesterday, feel that Trump should already been arrested or should be getting ready to be arrested. And as you know, Bill Barr, the former attorney general under Trump, recently came out on Fox News, by the way, and said that there was no reason for Trump to have those documents in his possession. There's no, whether classified or not, there's no reason to take them out and away. They're not his. And so I think that, well, the backlash was swift when it first happened, if you remember, Bob. So right. I think that also affected. I think there was immediate like fervor. They came back, they threatened the FBI. Now, you remember when Black Lives Matter defund the police. They were talking about defund the FBI. And right. I think that even though Garland tries not to seem like those things affect them, I think they absolutely do. And as we get into the show, we'll be talking about some other things. But I think that that's why, Bob, I think that Garland is affected somewhat by the noise on the outside. But since then, things have quieted a great deal. So I
Well,
do think Garland is moving and trying to be just. They're giving him every deference to who he was, who he is. I don't like it personally, but there's certainly
but that's the interesting, the interesting part, Juan, when you're saying they're giving him deference, but are they? Because this is my take on it. I
okay.
mean, okay, for one, this is unprecedented, right? It's a
Yes,
president,
yes, it is.
right?
Right.
Former president. But like you said, they're giving them difference. But I think one of the strategies is they know that this dude hangs his own self. Every day he's been speaking, it's like he's taking himself further and further down the rabbit hole, in the hole. And now his attorneys might even get indicted. They talk about those when they put all the documents, had the picture of the documents on the floor like they do a drug raid and take a picture of them. Those wasn't like that. They were in his drawer. We know he keeps stuff nice and neatly, and it was in his drawer. Like, dude, you just indicted yourselves, because then they said there wasn't any other documents nowhere. Then he comes out. Then he comes out like every day. I think they're just letting them hang themselves, because every day he came out the other day. I didn't know anything about anything in those boxes. I didn't know nothing about. They packed it up. We were leaving quick. I don't know who put them in. Then he comes back the next day. I declassified all of that stuff. I personally went through. I'm like, wait a minute, man. You just indicted yourself again. You just said you didn't know nothing. So it's a clown show, Juan. But all I don't know where it's going to end. But everything has an expiration date. And even Donald Trump. But let's talk about how the backlash has been, Juan. How they showed up at the Phoenix FBI office with AR-7s, the Proud Boys. The guy in the other office was the IRS office or whatever. He went in there and shot his. But look, this one gonna shoot. He had a AR-15, but he shot a staple gun first. So are they serious? I mean, so Juan, I don't know. They show up and they bluff and talk all that stuff, but they never pull a trigger, even at the insurrection. They ain't pulling no trigger, did they? And they had guns, bombs, and all kinds of stuff. But they know better because they get wiped out. But it's kind of.
Well, one guy did get shot. That's right. The first FBI, but they have they. Yeah,
but he shot a staple gun first. He shot a staple gun. I mean, how much afraid you gonna be in a mug shooting a staple gun? Now he had an AR-15.
Yeah, something's amiss there.
Punks, man, they be bluffing, man.
Bob, but now what about something you said earlier, that this process for the last, I think, 15 months, they've been kind of going back and forth with Trump requesting these documents. I have a question for you, Bob. Then, what do you think he wants with those documents? What do you think he was going to do with those documents, Bob, in your opinion?
I got a question for you. What do you think? God dang, it's obvious. God dang, this is Donald Trump. He's using it for leverage. He's done that all his life. You know, he used to use that tabloid newspaper to leverage himself.
Yeah, that was one of his boys.
He would drop stuff out on people. He act like he calling on his behalf and it's him. He does that kind. Come on, man. They try to act. They know good and well. Look what he did when he did with the Russian people. And he always brags about stuff. Remember, he let off some intelligence when he had the Russian people come over.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But look, this is the thing, Juan. He never goes on the witness stand. And you know why? Because all the attorneys know he get out there, he'll start running his mouth and he indict himself. But Juan, let's talk about the different attorneys he's got.
Well, Bob, before you go there, Letitia James, he testified there, and he took the fifth 440 times.
Yeah. And he even said yourself, anybody who's take the fifth, he must be high. Juan, when is it going to stop, man?
But Trump seems to get that is the question. Trump seems to get away with it, Bob. Look, one of the guys said, and I had to write down his phrase, because he said Trump delays, denies, lies, and then obfuscates.
Right.
If I said you can't beat it, They know. Hey, they
That's the
know it very
playbook.
well.
And he got it from Roy Cohn.
Delay, deny, lie, and obfuscate. And it's right. Roy Cohn, one of the crazy
But what do you think is
lawyers.
what happened with how these Republicans are uh, sort of like balance mongering and talking about Lindsey Graham? It's going to be a riot if they indict Donald Trump. What do you think about that?
Well, and you asked right before that about his lawyers. Well, his lawyers are getting lawyers. When your lawyers,
but that's what he does. He always
lawyer,
get other people indicted. He never gets indicted, but he gets his own, and they don't get it yet.
Well, when the lawyers have to get lawyers, you're in trouble. But didn't one of the lawyers, I believe it was the young woman, signed something that said,
yeah, there's no more documents. We gave him everything.
There's no more documents. And as Michael Cohen said, his former lawyer said, hey, he knows. He said Trump knows to get her to sign. She thinks she's doing something.
Right. But she's the same one that said those things were on the floor. They were in his drawer. I said, I thought you gave everything.
Right.
No,
right.
Man.
As good as it gets.
It's a circus.
It's a circus.
But let me tell you who eats it up, and they get a pass. And this is a subject for another day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The media eats that stuff up because it's giving them stuff that they love it. Mm-hmm. Every day there's different news, and every day Trump is in, and he loves too being in the news every day. So it's it's a crazy dichotomy because the media, they talk stuff on him, but they love it.
Mm-hmm. They love it
because he's the head liner, and it's ludicrous, man.
Since he first ran for office, he's been on the news. He's had free coverage worth millions and millions of dollars.
He got about $2 billion worth of coverage during the election, free.
Right.
And
that's going back to 2015 into 2016 and then his election. Yes.
So this guy, man, I'll just be glad when they indict him. I would love to see him in an orange jumpsuit, but I don't think Trump.
Some people question that. Do you think that just on the classified, not the other stuff that's going on about? Do you think they will indict him on this classification document?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There seems to be.
There's so many investigations. You got the Georgia investigation. You got the New York investigation. You got the January 6th investigation. Now you got the documents. So, but it seems like they riding on the documents, but that may not even be the strongest one yet.
Two investigations in New York. Letitia James and the DA, Bragg. Alvin Bragg, although he finally got some more.
He finally got some more.
I'm not sure about him. I have questions. That's another show.
Yeah, but okay, Juan, let's switch to our other topic that we always, and this is a standard topic we have, y'all, and it's called the Biden update. Okay, the Biden update. And we want to start off by sharing with you, can you see that, Juan?
I can see it.
So this is Biden, President.
Wow, I don't even know all of these.
The Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act. That's big, Juan. The semiconductors. That's why it was backlogged on new cars and everything. Because
tell them a little bit about the CHIPS Act, Bob.
Well, the CHIPS Act is allowing us to be more concentrated in the semiconductor industry. And what that means, a lot of people don't understand. Well, that's major, one, because now everything is being run by smart grids, right?
Right.
You hear about 5G and all of this smart grid. The railroad system, airplane system, the electric system, gas system, all are run on smart grids now. And semiconductors, we know semiconductors in all the telephones. So this is major, but we wasn't making them. Right. In fact, I got a stock in a semiconductor firm called NXPI that's in Holland. They one of the big ones, man, and they in almost all the cars.
Wow.
And they doing a test thing in Shanghai because Shanghai is making their whole city smart grids, and they're using this one company, NXP. The other one right now is called NVIDIA. Their stock went down. It's a good time to get into that stock because NVIDIA is one of the big semiconductor chips. And all of these are other places making it. And so he made the CHIPS Act for us to start making semiconductors. Then you got the PAC Act, the
But Bob, let's stay the CHIPS Act. Just one time, I'm going to give the people a little history. Wasn't the CHIPS Act something that initially the Republicans voted on too, and then tried to reverse it, mad at the Democrats, and then came back, he brought it back, and they got it through the next time because they realized they needed it to go. The Republicans had to jump back on that and get that through because there was backlash.
No, that wasn't the CHIPS Act, Juan.
Oh, that wasn't the CHIPS. Well, that was the.
I think that was the PAC Act, the act that for the men that
the military.
It was military. That was the act. They
support. You're right.
That was the act.
Might have been both of them. They do things like that.
Yeah, but it definitely was the military one because John Stewart jumped in their stuff.
That's true. Know? That's right. That's right.
And it was what do they call it? The dirty bombs or something that they got exposed to. And Republicans voted again, but then they came back, doubled back, voted on. Then they started giving each other a high five.
You're right. Right in the chamber on television. Wow.
They're so hypocrites. But then you got the bars. Don't forget this one. How about the bipartisan gun law? We don't forgot about that.
Already. That was huge.
And it wasn't
after another tragedy.
It was all the way what we needed, but it was the first in what, 30-something years? Then he got the Al Qaeda leader. He killed them. And look, they used the Republicans was riding Biden on the inflation and the gas prices. You ain't saying nothing else about the gas price because the gas price been going down about, I don't know, I guess it's like 33, 34 or so many weeks.
Right. Consecutive. That's right.
Going down. So don't talk about. Then you had the huge
crickets,
whose job numbers, man, he had like over 500 and something thousand the month before. Then the low unemployment rate, it just went up a little bit, but it's still like 3.6 or somewhere around there.
Yeah, exactly.
Then don't forget about the confirmation of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
By the way, right.
And now this one's a little dubious for me. Leading support for the Ukraine. I'm like, we giving them all that money. And what about the people here that need money? But he's trying. And how about the expansion of NATO, which Trump tried to just cancel? But I think with Sweden and another country came in.
Finland or something, Sweden, something like that.
That was me. And then why? Have we forgotten already about the American Rescue Plan that he put money in people's pockets? What is Biden doing?
Right.
He put money in people's pocket, the American Rescue Plan.
Straight up put it in your pocket, correct.
And then how about the bipartisan infrastructure law? Jobs created, and then the Senate negotiating an update to the Electoral Count Act. I didn't know that one, Juan.
Right. And that's critical. I think we're moving closer to doing something about this, some of this election issues. And we're going to be hitting on that a little later in the show too. So
now just one more thing, Juan. How about the student loan forgiveness? Can you see that slide?
Yeah, I do. Yes, right. That's the most recent.
$10,000 debt for borrowers earning less than $125,000. And Juan, this is what people don't know. 87% of that money, and that people saying it's unfair, giving $10,000 to these old people and the plumber and the UPS guy who ain't go to school, but it's helping people and it's not going to the wealthiest. 87% of the people that's going to be helped are making $75,000 or less. Now up to $20,000 for a Pell Grant.
That's big.
And let me tell you let me tell you about this one. People don't understand. They are giving refunds. And let me give you an example. If you got $8,000 left on your loan, right? And since March 2020, if I'm right, you've been paying on it, right? And let's say you paid $3,000 on it, right? Juan, with this bill, you can get refunded for the $3,000. You got to apply for it, see if you qualify though.
Right.
So you get $3,000, but your debt, your student loan debt goes back up to $8,000. But then you can apply for the $10,000 debt borrowers earning for the $10,000 and then get wiped out. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, very.
and then is you got they extended the pause on payments until December 31st. They capped the repayments are capped on your monthly income of 5%. And most borrowers will not fill out. Listen, most borrowers will need to fill out an application with the Department of Education. So
that's big, though. That's big.
I mean, so
And
Warren,
capping that
they
thing.
talk about what I heard some guys, black guys talking about the other day. What has Biden done? And Warren, let's don't forget he gave $5.8 billion to HBCUs. How about that?
Right. And this is helping a lot of black students use student loan debt, even at HBCUs. Many of them, they are there on loans.
And this is the thing, Warren.
It's large.
With this
it's
money,
large.
people can pay down their debt. With
Right,
this
it's
refund
large.
money, they can pay off their credit cards. They can invest some of that. It's going to help. And they talk about it's unfair. And at first, being a person that I'm paying out of pocket for my daughter to go to university,
Right.
North Carolina, Chapel Hill, I was a little biased too at first. I'm like, what's my help? And then one, people don't know this. I think it's over 60%, if not more, of the 1.7 trillion student loan debt is actually graduate school degrees. And I don't think I need to be repaying somebody because they went to some graduate school.
I remember you pointed that out. Yeah,
but I'm all for.
He's evolved on this. He's evolved, ladies.
But Juan, this is how I look at it. If Trump can give the richest 10% a tax break, the $1 trillion in tax break, which still hasn't been paid for,
Still has not been paid for.
If he can help the top 1%, 10%. Because that's who got the majority of the tax breaks, not us in the middle class and lower.
Right.
Then I said, why can't you just help the other guy for a change? Now we over about maybe 23 trillion in debt, so we can't be just throwing money out like that. But I'm like, what the hell?
Right.
You're helping everybody else. You're helping Ukraine. You're helping
right.
But I don't know how you feel about that.
They're sending it over to Ukraine in bumps. Yeah. So. I agree with you, Bob, and I applaud you. You're evolving on this subject.
So, what do you think about his poll numbers? Right.
Well, hey, they were all over that. That's all you heard on the news, and now those poll numbers are ticking up. And another sign of that successes, Bob, is that many of the Republican candidates are wiping all their website campaign stuff clean.
Yeah, with Trump's name, right?
Yeah, they're like all that they talked about. Oh, we gotta stamp women out in abortions. Now they're like reversing that. They're wiping as if we don't know that what they had already said. They were saying terrible things about their. Now they kind of rolling that back, man. They're trying to get back.
So Warren, what's your take on President Biden's speech where the Republicans are saying he's trying to divide the country and he's not favoring democracy by that speech? Did you hear his speech?
Yes.
What's your take on that?
That's a good question, Bob, because at first, Bob, I wasn't sure was that needed. I was like, does he need to come down now and irritate the thing? And I guess maybe it's just because, in our subject, I'm like, do we want to give them something to hit on? Just like Bob, you were, as you thought through it. But then I was like, why is it that others can be forceful and say what they want, but I'm glad Biden came out and basically just told the truth. And they try to act like they're mad after calling Democrats pedophiles and not patriotic and all this other BS. But I thought that Biden was very forceful. And I thought that he spoke the truth, that there is a problem in this country. You and I debated about.
Yeah, and why not call them? I'm like, call them out. I think that's what we need to do more. You need to call them out.
Yeah.
And the good thing, he tried to say all Republicans. He didn't. He said those MAGA MAGA Republicans and extremists. So, but like you said, Juan, I didn't have no problem with
And
it.
I don't like to let some of them off the hook. I know he had to kind of, stream it a little bit, but a lot of these, and you and Bob, you and I discussed that. A lot of these guys, they vote lockstep for things, yet are quote unquote seen in the moderate camp. But I don't like to let. I still think when they poll Republicans, when they poll them, like 70% of Republicans. Now, I'm iffy on some polls, but 70% of Republicans still support Trump 100%. So that doesn't tell me that that's something. He's still very much supported by the party and the majority of his.
Oh, well, I mean, there's no question, but it's so interesting. That's the base of the Republican Party, and I think they maybe just 30%, but they seem like they're placating to the worst, the most evil and mean people, and they're scaring them because if they talk about them, it's like they're worried about their kids being threatened. But Juan, let's get off of that, man. Let's talk about.
But
this is a major.
But
one.
We can both agree, Biden is on the roll. Okay, go
ahead.
Oh,
he's definitely on the roll.
He's on the roll.
Yeah, yes. Hey, Juan, let's talk about. This is a major one, you all. And a lot of people is not talking about that, but me and Juan want to talk about this because Juan comes from, a mother. Well, even his father's an educator, for a family of educators,
Yes.
And his even sister worked for the National Education Association.
Absolutely.
The national teacher shortage. This is crazy, man.
It's a crisis.
This is, I mean, there's a shortage on teachers, man. And with this critical race theory that they're coming down, talking about the teachers can't be teaching slave history or negative things about, people's forefathers and stuff, especially about slavery. How did we get to this point?
I think it's been a ball rolling down the hill, Bob, and the pandemic exacerbated it. And when the pandemic came, it was already like open season on teachers, and there's always been that that fight. Trump's education secretary Betsy DeVos, who comes from a very rich and powerful family.
Yeah, that's the Amway people, isn't it?
Yes. That's one side of their wealth. Yeah, they got like two sides of their wealth. Both extremely rich, but they've been on top of this for many long years. And the Department of Education they wanted to wipe out. But I think that the lack of support, the threats to teachers, and then the pandemic hit, and I know teachers felt like, okay, everybody should be vaccinated before they came back in. And I think that caused more of a schism. And many of them are not coming back off of the pandemic. They're not ready to come back, or it's not clear that that things have been taken care of. Many of them work in buildings that are not haven't been restored, and I don't know how long. I think it's a kind of building blocks of things that are really affecting that teacher. But I didn't even realize that the critical situation it is nationally. And I think some of these are taking advantage of it. Florida, they talk about just bringing in military people with no certifications, some of them are trying to be creative and, like having people teach from wherever you are. Like, you might be teaching a class in Arkansas, Bob. You could be teaching a class from DC in Arkansas, still doing virtual. They're in the classroom, you're on the computer screen. So they're trying to be creative, but I don't think this is going to get settled soon.
I got a question for you, but before I give you a question, I see a person that just came on, my daughter's mother, Brenda Ellison. I want to say congratulations, Brenda. Brenda just had a retirement celebration yesterday in Houston, Texas. She just retired. over 30 years, over 35 years
Wow.
of service. And if I'm right, Brenda, is it Herman Memorial Hospital? And so, thank you for your wonderful service and being a great mom to Tanisha. So just want to get a shout out. So Juan,
Good job.
just want to say right quick, how do you think this is going to affect society? I mean, with teachers, I mean, I think they even have a problem. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at this statistic, but I don't know how many kids are actually going to school, become teachers. I would love to see those statistics. I should have looked those up before I got on.
I
But
think that's down.
what do you think? Well, this might be a esoteric question because it's like, I mean, it's no question it's going to affect society. But what's your take on it? Because you come from an education background.
Oh, it's devastating. I think to us, and of course, Gail's in the education. Yeah, in my family, my better half, all of them, education realm. I think it's something that is definitely going to affect our children. I think the pandemic was, as again, still really in its ugly head. And something you just said about Tanisha's mother, too, man. There's a shortage, and Bob, you pointed this out to me.
Labor shortage.
Labor shortage, healthcare workers, who are also very critical. Public health workers, election officials,
truck drivers,
election officials. They're down election officials.
Right.
We debated, me, you, and Sabrina debated about election officials and the threat of the coup. And that, Bob, I'm going to finally answer a question you asked me 2 sessions ago, and it made it seem like I was avoiding. You talked about the threats and the things people are doing, and I think that has a lot to do with all of this. People are like, what the hell? Many of them are volunteer election officials, and they're getting death threats. And even though these people may be punks and they may not be serious about it, but if somebody calls your house, the average person says, "Look, I'll shoot you if you come there." It's like, why do I even bother with it? And I think that is a problem, man.
And one with the teachers, they've been acting up at the PTA meetings.
Oh yeah, taking over board of
the education school board.
Yes,
so Juan, so okay, and you know how I am, Juan. I just don't like talking about the problems. I like to talk about solutions. And I think one of the solutions is, I think we need to, no question, put our focus back more on teachers and nurses and public workers. But since we're talking about teachers right now, I think we should, raise the salary for teachers and really push people, because a lot of teachers feel like they're supervisors, or daycare providers instead of teachers or wardens. They're trying to just control attitudes and violence in the classroom and disruption, and they don't even feel like teachers anymore. So that has a lot to do why they're not teaching. But I think we need to give them more support, man.
Right, absolutely, Bob.
And I don't know, Juan, if also, I mean, because the national core standards that they use for teachers to teach, I think, believe it or not, that also has to do about what some of these teachers, how they teach, and some of the things they have to teach. They teach to scores instead of teaching for learning. You know what I mean? They teach to get the money in the schools. I think the whole educational system needs to be revamped, from top to bottom. And I think that would help. It's those what they call unintended consequences that happens from one thing here, and it's not the problem. They're not getting to the problems. You know what I mean? They're not getting to the actual real. They're just looking at the side effects and stuff. But they really need to, I believe, revamp the whole core state. Because look, Juan, just till recently, I think they up to 21 states now, approximately, and that was just the last few months. Only 21 states make it mandatory for high school students to graduate mandatory to take a personal money management course. They've
Mm-hmm.
taken civics out of school, so that's why a lot of kids don't get into politics, don't get into not politics, excuse me, not politics, but policy making and being councilmen and councilwomen, because they don't really know enough about the three branches of government because they took civics out of school. You know, they've taken physical education out of school. They've taken in some schools, they've taken music out of school.
Right.
So
Right.
the
Art,
whole system,
music, vocation.
art, that's the other one, Juan. And so with me being a financial educator, right, I'm coming in trying to teach personal money management, can't understand why the schools are not letting me in, but they telling me, well, they don't tell me, but I find out is all those other schools of thought, like art, civics, they all trying to get back in too. So it's like we all compete. But I would think personal finance is more important. But obviously, there's people in the music field that say, hey, music is way important to education because what it does, it develops your mind for learning. So everybody's competing to get back in. And so, long story short, and you know what they say, the best way to make long story short is just don't tell it because I know what's going on. But Juan, we need to revamp the system, the whole education system. That's why these teachers are just fed up. I mean, the security, I didn't even talk about that. The security that they need to provide around these schools. You know what I mean?
Kids getting shot in school. What about that? Bob, I think you're on to something. They definitely always need to keep up with the times and do it. But yes, teachers are underappreciated. And I always are so angry that they make it seem like teachers get over. Nobody goes into teaching to get rich. You know, you have to love what you do.
That's a good one.
You have to absolutely love what you do. And, you know, I'm amazed that we don't get angry at the fact that a stockbroker or one of these guys don't want, like Elizabeth Warren say, tax a trade, 1 cent on the trade. Absolutely, they don't want that. There's nothing that they want. You know, they'll protect millions, but we don't get mad at that. We mad at a teacher for striking for
$10,000 for a student forgiveness loan.
Right, exactly. So I think you're on to something. I think we need to support teachers. If we're going to get back on the right path, we have to have a healthy educational system. Not every child can go to a private school or afford to. So we need a healthy public education system, I think. And we have good people out here. But I do think, you know, we have to be revamped and educated. And I think that's up to us. And I'll always fight for it and defend it, Bob. But I think you're on to something.
Well, at this time, Juan, I think it's really appropriate at this particular point where we are talking about teachers to give a testimonial or honorary statement about Minnie Holcomb, your mother, who taught for so many years at Shepherd Elementary School in Washington, D.C., Northwest. She basically raised so many people's kids. I mean, so many people find out that your mother taught. And how many years did she teach, Juan?
Oh, about 35.
35. I mean, they just love Minnie Holcomb. And we need more teachers like that, Juan. So tribute to your mom. I just want to give her a quick, since we're talking about teachers, man. Your mom was a wonderful love. I mean, that's what teaching was about. You know what I mean? She taught from her heart. It wasn't all about money. And she was so creative, Juan. I saw some of the things that she would do, man, over the years. And look, she came up, you know, when they wouldn't even provide some of the materials. She'd make them stuff. Look, she'd take a piece of cardboard and crate paper and make a whole daggone game or something out of it. A whole lesson out of it. You know, look, give her some paste and some scissors. She'd go to work out there.
Go to work.
So tribute to Minnie Holcomb. We love you, Mom. God bless you, and may you rest in paradise.
Rest in paradise. Oh, I like that, Bob. Bob's gonna bring a tear to my eye.
I know, Mom. That was my intent because I had to bring your mother. I had to give a tribute to your mom, man. We talking about teachers.
But Bob, something you said earlier, they taught about everything. My mom used to had a little bank, Bob, and there would be a person who head the bank, people who handed out the money. That was
See, that's
kindergarten.
what I'm talking
So
about. That's
they
kind
were
of
they were ahead of their time, Bob. But you said it. But uh, uh, they teach to the test now. So many
yeah,
tests.
to test scores. That's what I'm saying.
Somebody's making money off their testing.
Yeah,
Providing those
that's how
tests.
they get the money. That's how they get the money allotted
Right,
to them, though,
right,
federally.
right.
So we got that. So Juan, let's come with our last subject of the day, which we always got a sports thing because me and Juan are both sports advocates. And one of the top subjects I want to talk about, Juan, is that the black quarterbacks in the NFL.
Mhm.
Juan, there are now 21% of the quarterbacks in the NFL are black.
Wow.
Total of 15, and I think if I'm right, 10 are starting.
Mm.
A total of 15, and I mean, you remember that used to be taboo. You know, they used to say
Right,
black man
right.
can't be because he don't think that well, he ain't all that. But the black quarterbacks, man, and then in college, oh my God,
Right.
plethora.
Watch them all
My
week.
favorite word. There's a plethora
Mhm.
of quarterbacks in the college coming through, man, and it's amazing, man. It's something to sight to see, man.
Mhm. I agree. Heard about a new book, Bob, out. I'll give the guy a shout out, Jordan Reed. That sounds like one of the Washington football players. I think it was a tight end, but the young man Jordan Reed about the rise of the superstar black quarterback. But yes, in some teams they're 3 deep. It's come a long way. There've been great ones in the past that stood on many shoulders, but it definitely looks like the money's there. They can't avoid them. You can't keep them out right now. There are so many good quarterbacks playing the game, and I think that in the next couple of years, and that's what this is saying in this book, that there will be out of 30 teams, there'll be at least half will be superstar quarterbacks. Now, he wasn't just saying just quarterback starting, but superstar, black superstar.
Well, the black quarterbacks now have sort of changed the game, and it's so interesting because they were so much mobile, right?
Right.
So then they try to flip it on them and saying, yeah, but that California offense, you scrambling, you ain't gonna live. They can't work in the pocket. Now they got a bunch of they done dispel that myth because a bunch of these guys can sit in the pocket and throw. But Juan, let me ask you a question.
Randall Cunningham, he should have been a superstar again. He was ahead of his game, but yeah.
So Juan, for the longest, well, the first black quarterback in the NFL, I think, was Marlon Briscoe.
Was it Marlon Briscoe?
I think it was Marlon Briscoe, right? He went from a receiver to quarterback. But the first black quarterback in professional basketball was in 1923 for a historical moment. Fritz Pollard.
Fritz Pollard. Right.
1923.
Right.
So the brother's been around, and that was so interesting. So what do you think about Lamar Jackson?
The guy said in that book, Bob, they used Fritz Pollard in the rivalry. That's why when he came to the NFL with Jim Thorpe. Was it Thorpe?
Right.
Not Jim Thorpe. What was Thorpe? The Native American superstar.
Thorpe. Right.
Yeah, they went at it. That was one of the first big rivalries before it seemed like it was. Right. It went away, but anyway, yes, you're all over.
Now, what do you think about the black quarterback Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens, who's representing himself and is holding in?
What's the latest on that, Bob? What's the latest at?
I'm not sure. I think he's still holding in. That's the new thing. Holding in means, they showing up to practice so they don't get fined, but they're not playing. So that's but he's representing himself.
I like that, holding in.
Yes. And he's asking for a top dollar. They don't want to give it to him because he's saying, back to my point, that he's one of those quarterbacks that scrambles a lot. And so they're saying that his value is less because he does a lot of running. And so that's why they haven't given, because he wanted the max, like 250 or something like that. And it's so interesting. I'm not making.
I'm sure he wants Deshaun Watson money and things like that.
And he wants Aaron Rodgers money. and Gilbert. I mean, you know, there's a lot of other guys getting paid money. I'm not trying to make this a racial
And he
thing.
can pass that ball. Let's let them make a thing about it. He can pass that ball.
Yeah.
He can scramble too, but he can pass that ball. He got a gun on it.
Right. So on. Okay. So anyway, just we wanted to make a special mention about
Yes,
black quarterbacks. But I need to make this point, Juan, since we talk about the NFL and black players, right? A little note for everybody out there that no one mentions, but this past NFL draft, they did not draft one black player from an HBCU, which I think is so ludicrous. Now, some people try to say they didn't draft them because of the COVID. A lot of HBCUs didn't play, but a lot of PWI schools didn't play either. You know what I mean? But not one. And the NFL was built off of HBCU players. You know,
just a quick note on that, Bob. How the hell you don't? Does everybody remember Jerry Rice, perhaps the greatest receiver in the NFL ever, or arguably ever? And he came out of an HBCU. Somebody was passing to him. How can you be the best receiver in college football, but your quarterback can't make the NFL? Come on, talk to me, man.
Well, we know what
go down and just catch balls. All of that is ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. But I'm glad you said that.
So on, let's talk a little since we're still on sports. Yeah. Let's give a tribute to Serena Williams.
Absolutely.
You know, Serena Williams, arguably,
yes,
one of the greatest female athletes. She's the GOAT, one of the GOATs, greatest of all time. Now, she didn't break the girl from England's record for the most majors.
They're tied, aren't they?
No, they didn't tie. The girl, what's her name? Something Court. I think it's Court.
Or Margaret Court? No.
Yeah.
Is that the one she was breaking for?
Yes, England.
Grand Slam title.
No, most majors. I don't know if that's what's called Grand, but it's
Grand
most
Slam.
Majors.
Okay. Yeah. Most major title. Right.
Most major Slam. So she didn't break it, but neither did Tiger break Jack Nicklaus's.
Right.
But Tiger is the greatest golfer that ever played.
Arguably.
But I mean, he didn't break Jack Nicklaus, but it's no question he is the greatest. Now, I don't want to get into basketball because people are going to say LeBron James or Michael Jordan, but I say Will Chamberlain. But Juan, Serena, what she did, and I don't think she should have played the doubles because that took a lot out of her, you know, playing. But the day before, yeah. And I get it, you know.
Her and her sister, right.
And, you know, and I think she didn't think she was going to win that first game singles. So it was cool for her to play in those doubles. You know what I mean? I think, but then that girl wore it down. But Serena, greatest tennis player of all time.
Right. Bob, I think you said it all. And I'll just caveat on something Chris Evert said. Chris Evert, another great tennis player who commentates. But she pointed out to everybody in the studio as they were talking about, she needs to go, you know, chop her forehand up. She needs to hit with a little bit more of this. And she said, I just want to point out to all of you all, we're talking about a 40-year-old mother who has played 6 matches. And for all of you all don't know tennis, she had played 6 matches coming into an event where the majority of people are half her age and they played 80 matches, 100 matches, 50 matches. She played 6 and beat those women. So you all, I just think that sums it up.
Well, we got a comment in the comment box of my little brother, Carl Chapman. He says that Serena is the GOAT. Yes.
Absolutely.
But then he tried to slip this in, and he knows how I feel about this. He knows how I feel about this. He slipped in Bill Russell.
Oh, well, he's the greatest winner.
I talked him into Will Chamberlain was the greatest, but then he's flipped on me and told me, he hit me one day, and here you go again, talking about Bill Russell. Now, if we talk about wins, like I said, it would be the girl Court, right? It would be Jack Nicklaus, and it would be Bill Russell if it's wins. But individual play, I don't know, chap. I got to go with the Wilt, baby. Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain.
For our studio audience, Bob loves to fire up the Facebook pages with who's the best and slipping in on those, and it can cause a firestorm. But you can't go wrong. They were great friends, great competitors, and they they both changed the game.
Let me ask you this right quick, Juan.
And it just shows our greatness.
Do you think Serena's going to come back?
Well, Bob, great question.
She left it open.
Exactly. She said, I'm evolving. But I could see her, trying to come back for a tournament. Maybe she's going to have another kid, and then she might try to come back.
I'll tell you what would make her come back. They starting to make the salaries parity with the men.
No, but that when they talk about the Williams sisters, and I was glad that they honored them for their greatness, but what they've done for that game and keeping American tennis in the forefront, because the men dropped off, after the Jimmy Connors, McEnroes, et cetera, the American tennis really dropped off. They kept American tennis alive around the world, even taking all of the insults and all of the derogatory things they said about the monkeys, beasts, everything, and still with dignity. Right. Everybody should see King Richard.
Oh,
but the other thing, it is because of them and some of the other great players, but it is because of the Williams sisters that there is parity in the Grand Slam matches. They get the exact same paycheck as the men.
Right.
So if it's 3 million, 5 million, whatever it is, they get the exact same, and they should, because they carry tennis, and everybody wanted to see the Williams sisters. Right. King Richard said, both my daughters will be number one, and they said, "You crazy, you AK, you're a nut," and the rest is history.
So Juan, so I wanted, as we always
give her a hand.
Yes, give her a hand. Yeah, Juan. So I want to give a shout out to the people out there, and my man Dennis Jarman. He says, "This is a very informative and interesting show as usual." I ain't lying. I want my copyrights. I want my royalty check, Dennis. Okay, using my dang law. And look, this is one of my stalwart viewers on the Fit Show and on Point Opinion. Garnett is always in my corner. Former co-worker. Thank you, Garnett. She had, Garnett said, Bill Russell was the man. Garnett, all right, Garnett, I ain't mad at you. Oh, okay, Carl Chapman here. Carl said, Bill Russell number 1, Jabbar number 2, Chamberlain number 3. Not bad, not bad.
I do think they treat Jabbar kind of. They do give Jabbar.
Yeah, they forget about Jabbar. Yeah,
Jabbar is a bad boy.
Holds the scoring title, right?
Yeah, he still holds it, but they think LeBron will go past it. Sometime next year.
Want to holler out to Maddie Ford. What's up, Maddie? My sister and co-worker too, and Brenda Ellison. Once again, congratulations, Brenda, on your retirement. Well deserved. Bruce Crossman, one of the most top educators down, formerly retired now from Indian Creek, but one of the top formal educators in the business.
Oh, excellent,
and
excellent.
My wonderful, who always supports me, my oldest sister. She don't like me saying that. I'm sorry. My sister, you are the oldest. It's still the same, but you're not the oldest. Steve's the oldest. Linda Sy. What's up, Linda? Love
Linda's
you.
the GOAT.
Linda's the GOAT.
No
when it comes to administrative heading, director of government and private corporations, Linda is the GOAT.
Look, Linda, if you were listening to us, if you're still listening, Bob and I were talking about you the other day when you hired us, when we were come home from playing basketball overseas, and you hired us working down at
EEOC.
EEOC. You told us, don't embarrass me.
Hey, Juan. And guess who we're working for? Not just Linda.
Clarence Thomas.
We work for Clarence Thomas at the EEOC. Oh, geez.
Oh, Jesus. But Linda's the GOAT. Thank you, Linda.
Linda's the GOAT. Linda's the
Bob,
GOAT.
you got points for that. Not points, but you got years added on to your retirement.
My retirement, yeah. She man. That little job, she hooked us up like a month. EEOC.
Yeah. Linda, he owes you money.
Yeah. Well, look, y'all. Thank y'all. Remember,
thank you, everybody.
First Sunday of every month at 6 p.m. the On Point Opinion. And remember, I just want to remind y'all, this is just our opinions that we express. Don't try to sue us for something that we said, because one, it's just our opinion, and two, we ain't got no money. Okay, so you just be wasting for attorney fees like Donald Trump. But
gotta get blood from a turnip. And send in ideas, you all, because I know you all
in the comments.
All manners of
things.
Put in comments, hit us on Facebook, send in things to us. Yeah, we'll hit you up with subjects. Let us know.
Please do. Thank y'all for tuning in, hanging in there, Juan. A lot of people hung out there with us. And Juan, got a shout out to our folks across the water in Scotland and England that be watching us. Thank y'all for sticking with us. And because it's almost 7 here, so it's what, about 12 midnight there?
Midnight there, yes.
Wow. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Yeah. Remember,
I know my son checked.
Thanks, Maddie, for your comments. Maddie said, hello, everyone. The information is good. Thank you. Hey, y'all, make sure you share our site on Facebook and subscribe on Facebook and share our site on I'm getting tired. Share our site on Facebook
and subscribe
on YouTube. I'll get it. It's been a long day, Juan.
It's been a long day.
Great show, Juan. Thank you. Love you, brother. Let's do this again. Next month, first Sunday of every month, On Point Opinions.
Good night.